Good afternoon, friends. Hope all of you and your families are staying safe and staying healthy. Welcome to May, and today marks the third webinar in our ongoing knowledge series as part of the Home and Home Plus Conclave 2020, digital, of course. Of course, we also look forward to having all of you during the physical conclave as and when we are able to host it. The last 2 weeks, we've been having webinars, very interesting sessions with industry stalwarts from furniture coming in and talking about home furniture and home furniture retail. And interesting takeaways were given. Digital adoption, technology in store, salespeople reskilling and repurposing stores. A whole lot of this along with empathy and kindness in the way that we work. But today's session is special because it addresses that part of our home that is soft, literally soft, yet important in every home and homemaker's life. And to share their wisdom, rich wisdom, we have 4 industry veterans, and I'm going to introduce them in alphabetical order to you from now on. Let me begin with Mr. Azim Dalal. Mr. Azim Dalal has, over the last 32 years, gained rich and varied experience in international banking, project finance, stock broking, printing, e-commerce, and retail. But all of us know Mr. Azim as a promoter and managing director of Bombay Swadeshi Stores Limited, very popularly known as the Bombay Store, for over 2 decades. Of course, Azim till recently was the managing director and joint venture partner of Indocount Retail Ventures Private Limited for their foray into the domestic home textile business and continues as an advisor to them. The Dalal family has interest in food processing, printing, and financial services. But let me say, well, Azimji, today I promise we are not going to those areas, but we are going to surely pick your brains to share some advice to our fellow retailers on home decor and home lifestyles. Welcome on board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you so much.
I now proceed to Mr. Karan Jetwani. He is the CEO of International Trade Linkers and, of course, coordinator domestic retail and e-commerce promotions, Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts, EPCH, a body that we all are familiar with. Karan is an industry stalwart with an experience of 38 years in the manufacture and export of home decor, gifts, and jewelry. Mr. Jetwani has also been felicitated for lifetime contribution in promoting experts of handicrafts by EPCH. He's a pretty well-known and respected figure among the organized retail fraternity. As coordinator domestic retail and e-commerce promotions at EPCH, he has played an immense role in catalyzing the alliance between EPCH, organized retail, and e-commerce. He heads a powerful advisory committee comprising top-notch executives of India's retailers and e-commerce company. As always, a pleasure to interact with you, Karan, and I'm sure you will share some interesting facts and insights for all of us to know and appreciate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mahesh. It's a real pleasure joining your forum.
Thank you. Mr. C.K. Nair, C.K. as all of us know him, an industry veteran with over 3 decades under his belt. He was the head of Homestock and a member of Executive Committee, EXCOM, the highest strategy and decision-making body of Shopstop, handling high-priority issues, adopting policy changes, setting long and short-term directions to the business team, to name a few, were part of his profile. He was also director of Time Zone and played a pivotal role in turning that business profitable. Since 2016, he represents the prestigious and century-old IHA, the International Housewares Association, Chicago, for the SAARC region as its representative, and is in constant touch with home buyers and household category manufacturers. And finally, he provides retail business consultancy and strategic and go-to-market needs of retailers. Welcome, CK. We look forward to some very interesting insights based on your wide experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mahesh. Pleasure.
And finally, let me introduce Mr. Rajesh Mahajan. He's in fact about to complete half a century of being associated with our category. With his experience in textile manufacturing and dealing with global retailers since 1976, he started the brand Masper in India in 2002, setting up India's first exclusive brand outlet in home textiles, with products specially designed and manufactured for the Indian audience. Assisted by his 2 sons and a very young and able team, Mr. Mahajan established Masper as a reputed brand that is available in India in its own exclusive stores, as well as in Masper shops in both large format stores and specialty home furnishing retailers in India. Of course, he's also spread the wings of Masper brand to being successfully sold in countries across the globe. All of us are eager to learn from the doyen of home furnishing. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mahesh, and good morning to everyone.
Good morning, sir. And of course, I am Mahesh, a very small part of India's foremost destination for all things home, Creativity City, Pune. And you're all invited to drop by when in Pune, and I'm sure me and my team would be happy to take you around there, this beautiful curated destination of Indian and international brands for furniture, furnishing, and decor. So today's format will be slightly different from what we did in the last two sessions. We'll have opening comments from all our panelists to begin with, and then we will get into addressing two major segments, two important segments which I've drawn ideas and inspiration from fellow fraternity members in terms of A, what will motivate our customers to come to our stores or our brands and seek our products in the post-COVID times. And this, of course, we're talking about whether it's online or offline. Question number one, in terms of what is going to motivate our customers. And the second part is how are we going to encourage home improvement and home makeovers? Few questions that arise, of course, here are which products categories will drive sale? How are we going to drive demand? What are the tactics that we need to follow? How do we engage with the consumer? And what are going to be the new business models and methods? A lot of this we'll take it ahead as we go along. We are obviously not going to be able to cover everything, but we'll surely make a very sincere attempt to do that. At the end, of course, we're going to be devoting 15 minutes of time and respond to some of the questions that you are open to raise in the Q&A section. So let's begin now with, of course, Rajesh ji, the doyen of the home furnishings industry in India. What do you think the post-COVID times are likely to be for soft home, if I may use the term? What do you think is going to be consumer sentiment? What do you think is going to be consumer demand for this category? And when I say soft home, I'm including furnishings, decor, and household into it. Your views, sir.
By nature, I'm an optimist. And there's a very nice quote that, I don't know, it's anonymous. It says that things turn out best for people who make the best of the way the things turn out. So if we follow that, I think none of us will be disappointed. Also, I was reading that innovations happen when situation is very difficult. I mean, after World War I, what came around was tissue paper, tea bags, zippers, and even the increase in use of wristwatches. So you will find things coming from all different directions which you may not have imagined. So I would say that as far as the sentiment is concerned, there's been disruption. Of course, we all know that. But are people going to stop buying? I really don't think so. I mean, they will definitely buy. There will be a change of buying behavior that we all have been talking about and expecting. But having said that, there's also a book on retail called Seismic Shift in Retail, which was written in 2017, and it predicted a big shift in retail between 2017 and 2026, and that was pre-COVID. So I think this COVID is only going to speed that method of change a little bit more. Now, there will be disruption, or there will be, what shall I say, a fall in income levels for some time for sure. And keeping that in mind, people are going to be a little conservative with their money. So you have to give them a reason to buy. And we all have to find that reason within our own businesses for consumers to actually feel good about themselves and make them happy, or how they will actually go about getting back into that feel good factor, so to say. Back to you, Mahesh.
Thank you, sir. Reason to buy. I think we'll catch on that very shortly, but I'm going to take the earlier part of that seismic shift that you talked of. Azim ji, what is it? You've been home decor and creating a brand that India is proud of. So, what do you think is? Are you also echoing the views of what Mr. Mahajan is talking of in terms of a seismic shift that's likely to happen post-COVID?
Absolutely. I think, see, ultimately, as Mr. Mahajan also mentioned, people are not going to stop shopping. It's ultimately, again, the last 35 to 40 days that we've been at home, we've obviously realized that there are a lot of things that we could change, especially, your bed linen, which you're using. And, I'm just waiting for things to open up where I can get in some more of the bed linen and all that. I think times like this, a lot of people have gone and spent a lot of time on themselves, whether it is meditation, whether it is, focusing more on sleep. And these are the kind of things which will bring in a lot of new purchases, as of course, Mr. Mahajan also mentioned. And what is true is that with the spending, it's going to take a bit of time. It's not that tomorrow, if the malls or retail stores open, people are going to rush for that, because the social distancing and all that is something that is going to be taken into consideration. But having said that, I think there is a pent-up demand which is definitely going to happen as soon as the market opens up. So very clearly, I think, of course, one unknown that we have is how long is the lockdown going to be, especially in markets like Bombay, Pune, and Delhi. I have a feeling that the rest of the country will open up, but we don't know. That's the unknown. But once that is kind of known, I think people will start, going out. Vaccine, of course, is going to be the next important thing. So I very clearly feel that there is going to be a demand. Online would probably pick up earlier than the brick and mortar retail, but I think it's not going to be what I would say is that I'm sure there is going to be a positive feeling going forward.
Okay.
Back to you, Mahesh.
Thank you so much, Azimji. I think the fear of the unknown is something that we Indians actually don't have. So I'm sure once the lockdown is released and once the opening up of the markets happen, I'm sure that there's going to be the pent-up demand that what you talk of coming out. But CK, what do you think? I mean, you also represent IHA and across the SAARC region. And I'm sure that with your experience in furnishings and decor, home lifestyle is what you've always been working on. And now you're seeing a sort of a pent-up demand that's coming up. So what are your views? What do you think would be your opening remarks on that?
Yeah, like we always say, home is where the heart is. Now, we need to also add some more definition to it. Home is where the peace is there, because of the safety, we have to be at home now. So home is where the heart is. Home is going there. The peace is there. Home is where the safety is there. Now, the ultimate is home is where the demand is going to be, because all of us, including our customers, what are we actually doing at home for the last 30-40 days? We are learning new skills during this lockdown period. We are also searching for ways and means to customize our home and homeware, and we are also trying to create our own look, and which is also showing the individuality. So you definitely see a lot of involvement happening in the consumer side, and they are actually adding more skill. And after adding more skill, I think these are all skills which are going to add to the opportunities as well. I strongly believe that the consumers are actually gaining more and more knowledge. Consumers are actually gaining more and more skill, and therefore this is all indirectly adding to the demand which is going to be in the post-COVID scenario. I definitely see this is a great opportunity for the manufacturers, great opportunity for the retailers, and therefore as an industry there is a big need for us to collaborate. Retail, manufacturers, put together, collaborate the consumer to deliver the ultimate aspirational home. I think you will definitely see that happening in the post-COVID scenario, because there are a lot of positivity really happening. At the same time, all of us are really fed up of sitting at home. And the most important aspect today is you are spending more and more time in the living room, and also you and your family spending little more time in the kitchen, and also the frequency of using the bathrooms, and of course the bedroom. The time that you spend in the living room especially is really increasing. Therefore, all these new ideas are actually converting that into changing the curtains quite often, changing the cushion covers quite often, and using new cookware quite often. And the husband is learning how to use the tools and gadgets. The wife is actually showing her skill in culinary skill. So there are a lot of positive things happening which can actually work very well for us. So I definitely look forward to that kind of a great opportunity which is converting into business post-COVID scenario. Hi, Mahesh.
Thanks, CK. I think you charge us all up by saying that there's huge opportunity in every room of ours, right from the living room to the dining room to the kitchen, and you went all the way up to the options that we may look for in the bathroom as well. Very interesting. But I'm going to pick up the earlier part where you talked of collaboration between manufacturers, retailers, and therefore together going to consumers. And here comes Karan. Karan, you echo the views of thousands of furniture, decor manufacturers, furniture manufacturers, furnishings, everybody under the EPCH wings. And you also are the voice in terms of interacting with e-commerce and organized retailers. So what do you see? What are you hearing from them? And what is it that you talk in your forums? And what are your opening comments, please?
See, one good news is I've been talking to my colleagues all over the globe, and our sector, which is home decor and soft furnishings, is going to be a sunrise sector. Since we have spent a lot of time at home, discovering nooks and corners we never knew existed, we realized the importance of being at home. The main sector after the opening up is going to be a work from home sector, which is going to be very important. This will be followed by a product range which will give you a feel-good factor. Now, how do we take this forward to our customers? In future, what I think, cross-selling is going to be a key. Soft goods and hard good manufacturers have to come together and create products which will serve the dual purpose, because you're going to lose a market share on your own a little bit, which is to be compensated by a complementary market. So it's a good idea, like bed linen company comes together with the hearth good company. Imagine virtual display in this showroom, because emotional buying is going to be very important. So virtual display, your social influence and social media is going to be a real thing forward. Let's visualize the bed with a very good bed tray on it. It creates the emotion and I won't need to buy that product. So partnering with the complementing segment is the way forward. We'll have to be very creative with cross-selling, visual merchandising. That's the way forward. Back to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, thanks. But let me, I'm going to again take what you said in terms of combining or I would say collaborating with the hard good guys and making solutions available to customers. But let me throw open the debate. Azimji, what do you think? Discretionary spends are going to be really hard to come by, right? So the shape and size of the wallets are changing. That's what I heard last time around also as well. So the big ticket furniture is going to go through a phase of, I would say, slower buy is what we are hearing. Do you see the opposite happening for furnishings, decor, and home makeovers using the soft power, as we call it?
Yeah, I think what is happening in the US and European markets, and especially UK, is that the government has given a stimulus. In UK, £2,500 are put into everyone's account. In the US, similar things have happened. And what we are seeing, and what we have heard is that in the US market, people are actually going out and buying bedsheet at a time like this also. So the demand for those kind of products haven't really gone down. Coming back to India, I think another unknown that we have, which we are all waiting for, is what is the stimulus that the government is going to give for people in India. And that is also going to be very important, because at this point of time, with companies, reducing salaries and all that, of course, the government has very clearly said that you are not supposed to reduce salaries, not, and maintain the labor force and things like that. But at the end of it, the mood will change quite a lot. Even if the stimulus is not as much as what the internationally people have been getting, I think that whole mood will change. So that is something that is, according to me, quite very important for the market. And therefore, for things like your bed linen, your whether it's your bath towels, as Mr. Sikenar was also mentioning, spending so much time at home, everyone is already made a list of things. At least I have, whether it is right from your cookware to trays and things like that, which actually Karan also makes. And so there is definitely a need for a lot of things, and people are definitely going to go out and do it. So discretion, I think high ticket items will take some time. I suddenly find, seeing so much of television, I need a new TV with a little larger screen. So everyone's requirement is going to be definitely there in different forms. But yeah, the low ticket items will definitely move faster and earlier than the high ticket items, according to me. Over to you, Mahesh.
So what I hear is that you do see a positive demand coming up, at least from the furnishings side of it, because people have been at home. So I'm going to add something here and probably pass the question on to Mr. Mahajan. So I was reading a couple of days back, I think, about multiple different types of shopper, and I'm immediately going by what Mr. Azim was talking about. There are two types of shopper that I can immediately think of. One is a revenge shopper or the revenge spender, who's like sort of been completely crammed at home and is waiting for the doors to open and then rush to the stores, and therefore he's already made a list of things and he's going to buy them. That's one part of one kind of spender, the revenge shopper, a revenge spender. The other one is the revelation spender, a little more settled, but who actually made a list of things based on like what Karan was saying. You find places which you didn't, you find places which you want to actually embellish or furnish or whatever, or refresh some places or whatever. So that's the revelation shopper. So where do you think we as home retailers should be focusing on? Is it the revenge spender or the revelation spender? What is your view, sir?
Personally, my feeling has always been that by and large, home linen.
Sir, can you speak a little louder with the mouth?
Yeah. Thank you.
By and large, home linen has always been seen as a secondary need. For some reason, people always dress up very well, go out, because you can see what they are wearing and you use a good car, but you don't get too many people home. Or if people coming home, then it's your close friends and they don't really worry about what your sheets are and what your towels are. So I personally do feel that with the general consensus here is with people at home, we will try to start getting a consumer to, or our communications to consumers will start focusing on the home linens category and decor category as a necessity. So far, it was a secondary necessity. It was not a primary necessity. So how do we get the consumers to feel that my home should look good and I need to get it up to a certain scale? Work from home for the mind worker, not for the person who's using hands, but the people who use mind, they are going to be inclined, and companies are going to try to create that shift. So that is where it comes. Hygiene is where, you know, we will focus on. Uh, you know, this whole thing about infection, etc. You know, you will want them to change and wash their linens more often. So this, whatever I'm saying, is more about articulating and communicating to the consumer that this is the direction that you know, they will need to be looking at. And for us as you know, both retailers and manufacturers and distributors, or all of that, you know, we probably fill in all three verticals. uh, we are going to be always also communicating that customers, they will come to our shops, they will feel safe, and we will take you know, the necessary steps to make sure that they don't feel uncomfortable or insecure. So that is going to be our approach. And uh, one more thing is, I personally feel the home category, I'm talking linen, decor not so much, but linen is probably a planned purchase. So how you get people to buy a little more frequently than they have been in the past, this is the area that we are going to focus on and try to get the consumer to think in that direction. Over to you, Mesh.
Yeah. Interesting. So from a secondary category, or you want to shift it to becoming a necessity, and probably also increase frequency, and of course the communication part and how do we communicate and what do we communicate is an interesting and important area. We'll come back to that. But I'm again going to borrow from what you said, and I'll take the question to CK. CK, I mean, just drawing from what you said, you know, we have home furnishing and decor have largely been considered as, I mean, in a sense, more from a, either it is completely need based, as what Mr. Mahajan said, or it could be sometimes home decor is considered elitist as well. So, but what do you think is going to happen post the COVID, and therefore people, the discretionary spend is going to be sort of very judicious in that sense. So, do you think that home decor is likely to make a new avatar, or come back in a new avatar as something that's far more important rather than just being in the background?
Yeah, Mahesh, I think we need to think about two scenarios. One is, of course, during the COVID, what is really happening at the consumer side. I think we have really touched upon it. And take the opportunity from the COVID scenario to a post-COVID scenario. What I'm saying is, today, can we create a positive mindset to the consumers in the current process of their learning? How can the industry add value to that process of learning? Engage with their learning process, because it's a very good opportunity for all of us, retailers and also manufacturers, to connect our consumers with a lot of value additions today. I think it is very important for the retailers to understand how can we add value to the current scenario of the consumers. For example, when we said the customers are actually spending more time in the living room, and they have a lot of time to actually set it up and reset it up to create their own look. They are spending a lot of time, and this is a time they are also taking all the old cushion covers, old or new, and you know, they are actually doing a lot of selection of their existing curtains and creating their look and their own. You know, they are creating their own look and feel, which is matching with their personality. So in the process, a lot of curtains, lot of cushion covers, and lot of bed sheets and bed covers are actually coming into the light. They are creating new look. However, as an industry, if you are able to give them a lot of inputs in terms of creating more and more concept to them, communicate to them about these concepts, and through challenges. I am sure all of you must have seen the sari challenge, which has happened in the social media. See, like that, how do we actually create throwing challenges to the customers who are actually, you know, spending their whole time at home, and encourage them to create new concept And I'm sure helping them and enabling that concept changing at home will definitely create demand for new stuff, especially post COVID scenario. We are also getting into the festival season. Now you actually see the Dashara coming in, Diwali coming in, and Christmas coming, New Year coming. So how do we actually take this as an opportunity to connect, opportunity to engage with our existing customers and give them a lot of validation and support in creating living rooms, creating bedrooms, and setting it up bathrooms, or even looking at the food preparation tools and gadgets and new cookware. Create a lot more ideas for them so that post COVID they can actually come to the retail store with a budget in mind, with some thoughts in mind. Like Mr. Mahajan was rightly mentioning, you don't see people actually barging into the store and buying a lot of stuff. However, how do we actually fine tune thought process in the consumer's mind as to what do they want to buy post COVID scenario by engaging them now right across and help them to create, help them to be part of their life, help them to be part of their lifestyle, and create concept for them and encourage them to send it across to your own social media forum and also acknowledge them and also appreciate them. And you can also give them for every entry what is coming into your social media post, you can also see vouchers going to them with condition or without condition, so that they will also plan their buying post COVID scenario. See, most important thing is how do we enable that process of thinking, and also how do we support them in terms of creating their own home. And
Well
this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, well articulated.
Ramesh.
Thank you so much, CK. In fact, I think what you're saying is there is going to be a significant upside in terms of demand that is likely to happen. And with the festive season, etc., coming up, the manufacturers, distributors, and retailers actually need to look at creating that demand and communicating that demand by starting today in terms of thinking and articulating that.
Absolutely.
Karan, how do you see the manufacturing part of the supply chain reacting and responding to this change in demand, or rather a positive side in demand in India itself? For a moment, keep the exports aside with whatever the concerns are. Where do you see that happening? I mean, what do you see as the response that manufacturers would give?
See, I've been talking to a lot of retailers, and there's one thing for sure, that our sector is going to be a sunrise sector because of that mentioned in the past. We have spent a lot of time at home to realize the importance of the home. Now, apparently, there are going to be two kinds of consumers. Rational, people who think from the head, which forces you to think, analyze, and maybe put off the purchase. These are the people who are looking for the high-ticket items. And then you have emotional buyer, a buyer who buys from the heart, a feel-good factor, which releases chemicals like endorphin, which helps you put your hand in your pocket. Now, these are the kind of consumers we have to focus on. Now, how do you focus on them? Give them a feel-good factor. Now, Mahajan Saab said that, bed sheets are, a second priority. I'm sure even Mahajan Saab has tried it in the past, and it's a proven concept that if you mix a bed sheet with a bed tray, it gives that extra edge to a product or a product group, and the buyer wants to buy it. In good old times, you will remember we used to make hand-painted napkin rings with home linen, your tabletop napkin rings and your placemats and napkins. Now, there was a clear embarkation that any collection where you added the accessories, like napkin rings, or that we used to have coasters and things like that, would outsell the other collections maybe 2 to 3 times more. What was this? This was a more deeper connect to the whole collection. And that's what we got to do. Like if I'm selling the trays, why not I mix my trays with the placemats and the napkins made by Masper or made by Azim. This creates a double market for us. So as I said in the past, cross-selling is going to be a key. And we will really have to form the alliances within the soft goods and hard good manufacturers to make this happen. Back to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, but Karan, but are you confident that the production or the supply side of it should not be a challenge? If the demand is going to be pent up and it's going to come back in full force, are you saying that the demand supply side should not be a challenge?
Immediately, yes, there is a challenge. But then let's realize most of your current orders are taken up, have gone back about by 4 months or 5 months. So you have those 4 or 5 months to create the new production, to create the new ideas. Because what you are supposed to ship in May, now you're going to ship in September. And of course, the new orders will not be immediately. Your buyers will first take care of the old commitments.
Correct.
So you have those 3 or 4 months to, learn from the processes. And I don't see much problem with production once things fall into place, because, your current production capacity is moved forward by 3 or 4 months. Okay. Back to you, Mahesh.
Right. Thanks, Karan. So on that note, I'm going to shift gears and probably change to a different but very important part of it. And my question starts with Azim ji. Which categories do you think our retailers, manufacturers should be focusing on in the immediate term? I'm talking of the next 6 months post lockdown. What are the categories that you think we should be focusing on in terms of both the production side as well as the promotion side? Azim ji first, followed by probably Mahajan sir.
Sure. I think very, very clearly the two main product categories, the two main products is bed linen and bath linen. I think these are the two immediate things which are going to flow into the market. As Mr. Mahajan mentioned, that bed linen is a secondary purchase as far as the customers are concerned. And I think coming to that, I'm just going to take a little more time just to say that educating and engaging with the customer on sleep, health, and hygiene is going to be very important. How many of our customers really know about mattress protectors, mattress toppers, bed covers? I think most of India doesn't understand bed covers. They have a day bed sheet and a night bed sheet. They don't know about different kind of material that you can use. I mean, even whether it's thread count. I'm not saying that you need to buy very high thread count all the time, but I think that whole education is something which is missing to a great extent. I think over the last year or two, things have improved, but not as much as the international customer really knows about it. So I think working on all this, and as I said, 1/3 of your life is what you sleep on your bed, and therefore, something that you really need to work on is the health and hygiene and better sleep, whether it is even the coolness of your bed sheet or whether it is being antimicrobial. I think all these things really affect, and therefore innovation in these areas, educating after making that innovation, education is very, very important. And then, making your customers really find the value in something like that and buying is going to make a huge difference. Over to you, Mahesh.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Azim ji. Mahajan sir, I'm going to ask you a candid question. Are retailers, are manufacturers doing enough to do that education part? I mean, like what Azim ji talked about. And if that education is going to be insufficient or inadequate, then how are we going to drive demand in the coming times, especially with hygiene and safety right at the top? What do you think, sir?
I will put this or answer this in two ways. One, before COVID and after COVID. Before COVID, I feel that to a large extent, people are always price driven. In a survey done by one of the big five.
Sir, a little louder, please, sir.
I said things are going to go as before COVID and after COVID.
Okay.
Before COVID, a consumer mind always worked purely on economic pricing. And I'm not saying that that's going to change too much. In a survey that I got information on, 80% of the bed sheets sold in India are under 1,000 rupees at retail price point. So you have retailer margin wholesaler margin, manufacturer margin. So, depends on what you can put on that. Now, with this particular situation, hopefully a consumer is going to become a little more conscious and spend that 5 to 10% extra and be willing to take on those extra property, because if you want to do antimicrobial sheets, there is a cost. So you will build that into the cost and the consumer will accept it. So as far as education is concerned, there are two parts of this education. One is at point of sale, which is the information on the packaging, and a consumer reads it on his own, or the sales staff helps to educate, and the sales staff has to be trained in that manner so that they can explain to the consumer. And the other, a lot of our consumers are media savvy. They are on, internet. It's, disseminating that information in that form. So that part, our brands or our manufacturers doing enough. Price comes into a factor, and then they do put whatever information they can on packaging. And coming up, if you look at companies like Welspun and all, they advertise a lot about, their high grow and all of those other features. So, but that's also an expensive product. So the consumer is discerning, and he will spend based on his need.
Okay.
Now back to you, Mahesh.
Right, so very powerful words indeed from both Azim ji and Rajesh ji, and for all my fellow fraternity members. I think education seems to be an important thing that we need to concentrate on, and that's at two levels, as what Mr. Mahajan said, from a point of sale perspective and to a packaging perspective. I think very important words, and I'm sure we'll make note of that and try to convey that, so that whatever is the premium that gets built in as a result of the safety that we are, in terms of the hygiene that we are building into the product, that actually gets passed on to the customers. I think that's what the takeaway from that point was. And CK, you've been consulting and helping a lot of companies in terms of retailing, home furnishing, and home textile and home decor products. In these times, how important do you think is the value of the brand versus just the value of the product? From a perspective that a customer is now all the more cautious, and they are more well informed, they are more aware thanks to the information that is being disseminated through across media. So do you think customers are likely to become more brand conscious now and look for that? Or is it still going to be like what Mahajan Saab said, the 80% of people are going to look at the sub 1,000 rupees, and therefore a whole lot of the commoditization takes place? What is your view on that?
See, in the home segment, there are certain categories where the brands are very important. Whereas certain categories where the product and the the utility is very, very important to the consumer. Especially in the home linen, brand is very, very important. But at the same time, the retailer's brand, which is the private label brand, which is known for its price and quality, is also becoming very important in the consumer's mind. So the brand from a home linen point of view, for example, Mr. Mahajan was mentioning about value addition to the product. Earlier, the consumers are actually giving a lot of importance to that utility out of the product, and they're willing to pay for it. Now, if you actually look at the current scenario where offline and online players are actually competing themselves, now suddenly there is more importance to the value conscious, and people are actually looking at price and then becoming in the quality. But it is not happening in the offline scenario, where consumers there are little different when compared to the online scenario, where people are also looking at quality and price as a scenario. And I think that will definitely continue for some more time. But there are two kinds of consumption. One is day to day and one is occasion. We are also realized that for the day to day, people are actually not really bothered about the brands. However, for the occasion wear, people definitely require brand because they feel that they can add tremendous value to that particular occasion. So this is my view on your question, but at the same time, I want to digress little bit because earlier I said collaboration. Sorry, Mahesh, I'm actually digressing a little bit because you also mentioned about the brands and suppliers and retailers. So I thought I'm also part of my consulting. I'm also meeting a lot of manufacturers. I'm meeting a lot of retailers also. So when I met the manufacturers, especially in the last say 30 to 45 days time, there are a lot of concern. There are a lot of concern and fear in the manufacturer side. Why? Because they they're having a lot of orders prior to say December, and after that, all the orders have been manufactured, ready to ship. Suddenly, the current corona cases actually came up, so they're all sitting on a very huge inventory, and which is actually giving a lot of concern to the manufacturing industry. Not able to export. Now the retailers are actually closed down and there is no intake happening from the manufacturers to the retailer side. And this corona issue came up right at the time when the retailers are ready to launch their spring summer collection. So half of the goods are actually reached their warehouses, half the stuffs are still lying in the manufacturers. So today there is a problem in the manufacturer side and also the retailer side. So how do we sort of looking at these issues, and therefore can we actually look at a collaboration between the manufacturers and the retailers to actually look at this the current scenario and come with a solution which can actually help both retailers and manufacturers so that we can actually create a viable option to the customers.
Interesting, Siki.
I leave this for discussion. Over to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, interesting, Siki. In fact, this is something that came up in one of the previous sessions as well, because furniture manufacturers and retailers also have similar challenges, and there, of course, the other challenges of space and in terms of styles, etc., also came in. And similar point was put up in terms of how do manufacturers and retailers come together and collaborate. In fact, there was even a very, I would say, wide-angle thought which said that we should actually have a common inventory and retailers could actually pick up independent of existing long-term relationships. We could look at the short-term pangs and try to help each other. Very interesting thought indeed. Very interesting thought. But I'm going to have quick views from Azimji also on the same brand part. The reason why I'm spending a little time more on that, gentleman, is because I think most of the retailer friends, I mean, we have been a steady state of about 170 people with us over the last 45 minutes. That's a time check also for us. And from whatever my team tells me, from a profile perspective, there are quite a few of single store owners and single city operators. And therefore, one of the things that they may be keen to know is that which direction should they take? What do we do? Should we look at stocking up on, the more on the commodity side, or should we be focusing on brands as products and push them? So Azimji, your quick thoughts. You've built brands, so very quick thoughts, please.
I think, as further to what Mr. Mahajan said, that 80% of the business is happening, say, especially for bed linen. I'm specifically talking about bed sheets and things like that, where it's below 1,000 rupees. People are not really bothered about the brand. It's the price, very clearly. It's not even so much the quality. But I think just that 20% of the customers, which is pretty large. You have the high net worth, you have the middle income people. They are more resilient and more quality and brand conscious, and therefore, depending of who their customers are. If the standalone store customers are the middle income and the high net worth, then definitely it's no doubt that you need to have a brand, because you're assured of the quality. What is mentioned on the cover is what is actually being sold, and therefore brand definitely plays a very, very important role. So therefore, you're below 1,000, it doesn't really matter, whether it is an export surplus, whether it is polyester cotton, whether it is whatever quality, it doesn't matter. So therefore, I mean, just to very clearly answer your question, that 20% brand is going to be very important.
Okay.
Over to you, Mahesh.
Thank you. But I'm presuming that you gave that answer considering the concern for safety and hygiene coming in as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think even that, the idea would be here, how do you convert that 80% also into something which is going to be more quality, coming with, your safety and health and hygiene requirements. With that, obviously, the prices are going to go up. So, obviously, convincing that customer and converting that 80% also towards your other 20-25% would definitely make a huge difference. And there, the brand definitely comes into the picture.
Mahesh, Mr. Mahajan had a point of view.
Yeah, sure.
I want to add here. When I started at, it's what, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
When we started Masper 17, 18 years ago, I would say it was a very nascent, the home linen and the home decor is a very, very nascent industry. Over the past couple of years, it has got more validity. With more brands coming into play, I think the brand recognition has started to play on the consumer's mind. And I have always maintained that home is a couple of years behind apparel. If you look at where apparel is today, you do have non-branded product, but that is for a very different segment of the market. Even a person with a salary income of 3 to 4 lakhs a year is very brand conscious when it comes to apparel. So I feel that there are two terms to answer the question of some question, to answer that question that some retailers may have raised, whether they should stock up on sort of
commodities,
economic pricing or premium pricing. As Asim said, it depends on the clientele you cater to. But in the medium term, when the market sentiment or consumer sentiment is going to be a little guarded, definitely pricing is going to play a question. But in the long term, and I think we are not discussing only today and 60 days from now, we are discussing how this industry will evolve over a couple of years. Home will be in the similar situation where apparel was. You will find more branded stores. You will find more franchisees taking on branded home stores, and you will find less of the people with unbranded. The consumer is going to move to branded. That is here to stay, whichever way you want to say.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to that day. Because 10 years back, I remember doing a session at one of the retail leadership summits, and do brands matter in this category? And at that point of time as well, we were looking at a 5-year horizon into which we would get into branding and branded spaces. And yes, we have moved quite a bit. Look forward to more of that. Now I'm coming to the single important question which will go all around the panel. And I'm going to start with Karan. When you talked of emotion, appealing to emotions, what do you think are the top 3 things that one would look at as a retailer or as a manufacturer or as someone who's selling to the end consumer in terms of communication? What do you think we should communicate? And this question is going all around, so you could prepare your thoughts as well, please. Karan, you could probably come in first, please. And before that, you could quickly answer what CK talked of on the supply chain challenge, where there's going to be a glut of inventory likely, as he says, and therefore, how do we get out of that? You could answer that part quickly and then move to this, please. Thank you.
The supply chain problem is here to stay for a long time because the inventories we are talking about are huge. And a mismatch in inventory, like, we do serving trays, and which is matched by a retailer with the cutlery. Now, some of this cutlery is imported from China. Before COVID problem came into India, we were told to hold on to the shipments because the cutlery from China was delayed by 2 months. So we held on to the shipments. Now the cutlery from China is expected because they have opened and we are sitting on our stock unable to ship it. Now the stock is ready. Now apparently, yeah, mismatch is going to be there. Luckily, some of the retailers are more forthcoming and have understood your problems and are willing to solve it. But if you look at the importers from America and Europe, they have, have no regard to what the manufacturer is going through, and they've just canceled the orders across the board. Now, this inventory is going to be a big issue for a long time to come. How Indian retailers going to observe it? I don't know. Because yeah, it's a different kind of designing altogether, what Indians are used to. So let's not, touch into that subject. I'm sure.
Yeah, it calls for a separate discussion altogether.
Yeah, the exporters are dynamic enough. They will find the way to do it. But how do we put our synergies together is, a great, and I believe it more so now in cross-selling and creating alliances. And digital transformation will play a big part, your social media, your social influences. This is a subject I hardly knew about till about 3 or 4 months back. And now all of a sudden it's going to be a very important part of your business. So these are the things we'll have to take into consideration, how to, get your synergies together, create a win-win situation between the different industries. Back to you, Manish.
So I think you are primarily touching upon the social media part. In fact, I'll add for the benefit of all those people who probably didn't attend the earlier webinar. There was a big question on whether it should be Facebook or Instagram that we as home retailers should look at. And majority, though there was a bit of a debate, but ultimately people were talking about Instagram being a better space if you're going to be talking more about color and lifestyles and all of that. And if you're going to be communicating more of, I would say, functions and features, focus on FB. That's one takeaway that we got last time. Now, moving quickly, Mahajan Saab, top 3 things that, of course, you did talk about education in terms of the safety and hygiene part. Top 3 things that we as retailers should focus on communicating to customers.
I'll start with the first one that comes to my mind. I was once speaking to one of our dealers when he came, and when I was explaining to him the price of a bed set.
Mic closer, sir. Thank you.
Sorry. I was explaining to this dealer the price of a bed set being 15,000 rupees retail. He says, too expensive. I said, you go to a hotel and you spend 10 to 12,000 rupees a night and you sleep on beautiful linen and you feel very good about it. So why is 15,000 rupees that you spend, which you use 365 days a year, expensive? So it was easy for him to understand. Yeah. So my approach, or rather our approach, is going to be, is to again, I go back to the education part of it, to a consumer. At one of the forums that I was attending, I asked a panel member, I said, how do you define luxury? The answer I got was, luxury is that which makes you feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very personal feeling. Do I feel good when people turn their heads and I, step out of a very fancy car? Or do I feel good about sleeping on good linen? So it's a very personal effect. So, we will say that our product is luxurious, and luxury is aspirational. I'm sure that everybody aspires in the back of their mind to be, using luxury. I'll give an example of a customer who walked into one of our stores, and one of our salespeople narrated this to me subsequently. He says, "Sir, 2 crore की गाड़ी में आया था, 10 लाख की घड़ी पहनी हुई थी, और जब हमने चादर का प्राइस बोला 2,000 रुपए, कहता है 2,000 रुपए की चादर में सोना ही तो है, और क्या करना?" So, that is the kind of reaction. He can afford it, but he doesn't see that particular aspect in the product. So we will appeal to that sentiment in the consumer. Feel good about yourself. you know, at the end of the day, what do you work for? You come home, you spend time at home. Why isn't your home the most beautiful place for you? Why the car? You know, a car is to get you from point A to B. That's it.
That's
but
right.
when you are at home, you know, your entire environment should be very pleasant and make you feel cheerful.
Yes, sir.
So that's one communication.
Yeah. So,
and beyond that, I also say that, you know, this is a little diverging from what you asked, but historically, apparel to home, globally sales numbers have been 11:1. So you sell 11 times the apparel that you sell to home. If I ask anybody a question, you know, how many shirts do you have in your wardrobe? The number will be fairly large. And how many bed sheets do you have in your linen cupboard? The number will be very small. So getting a consumer to, you know, it boils back to the same thing. It comes back to feel good about yourself. So that's the communication. You need to feel good about yourself in these uncertain times. And times are uncertain. Not to say they will not change, but this is a short-term strategy. Over to you, Mahesh.
Wonderful. So I think I keep espousing that as well, where we spend so much of time, effort, and energy on personal lifestyles. I think we should be spending at least half of the time on our home lifestyles, and then probably then the ratio from 1 to 11, but probably even if it comes 1 to 5, imagine the kind of business multiplier that we are looking at. CK, top 3 things quickly, 2 minutes, please. What you would like to communicate to the consumers in the post-COVID times?
Yeah, see, post-COVID time, I think the situation may not be the same as before COVID. Now, there is a need for essentials.
Your audio is a little muffled, please, CK. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the situation post-COVID is going to be very, very different than the before COVID scenario. I don't see a scenario where the customers are going to bargain in the stores in big numbers. And today there is a, you know, that personal distance, social distance is going to be the key. As far as the product is concerned, in the scenario, post-COVID scenario, the first 3-4 months, the customers are going to be very, very careful in terms of their spending because they are still in the mindset of preserving money. So, but there is a big opportunity for us in terms of the festivity. Therefore, there is a possibility of selling premium houseware, premium bed linen, kitchen accessories. There are a lot of things which can, we can add value to the festivity. We definitely see that happening. However, majority of the customers are going to be looking at a good quality product, branded or unbranded, at an affordable price. I think this is something which the retailers and the manufacturers need to understand because the customers are not in the same mindset of the situation where we were. Now today, everybody is little skeptical about spending money. Over to Mahesh.
Thanks, CK. I got what you're saying. I think it's got to be a balance is what you're saying. You have to strike that sweet spot of talking brand, product, price, and safety. Azimji, quick comment before I get into rapid fire, please.
Yeah, I think a lot of it would be repetition.
Yeah, you talked of the hygiene part.
Yeah, so I think refreshing your home overall, and especially your bed, is something that one should really focus on. So, you know, as we know that there are actually 7 layers to your bed. How many of us are really doing anything about it? How many of us know about deck pillows or whatever that may be to do up? Because you get up in the morning or you get into your bed in the evening, you should have a good feeling because that's where you're spending a lot of your time and focus on your well-being. So therefore, you know, whether it's even bath linen, refresh it, change it, bring in some good colors and things like that. So I think these are some of the points that I would like to share. Over to you, Mahesh.
Got it. So I think we've got a fair idea of what to communicate and how to communicate. So let's hope that most of our retail friends who are listening to us take some leads from this and figure out how they can do the communication and what brands can also do as far as the what and how of communicating to our consumers in the post-COVID times to push sales up. I'm going to now go on a rapid fire, and here we don't need justification, maybe a line max, but no, and this is more to give very clear direction to our audience. It's more from a yes/no kind of perspective or taking positions. So, and there's no right or wrong answer. So we could straight away start, and it will go around the room the way I probably request you, gentlemen. So first one, are we looking at more demand for bed linen or bath linen? Quickly, Mahajan Saab.
I see bed linen and bath linen as being, something that has always been there. I think we are going to be talking more about promoting slightly, lower ticket. We'll work with our bed linen and bath linen because that is our basic bread and butter. And we are going to be working a lot also on small ticket items, which will help consumer refresh their home. CK mentioned, a lot of time is spent in the living room. So how do I refresh my living room? And, bed and bath linen, there are plenty of players in the country who focus on that category. We will let them do it.
Yeah, so you will create a new niche.
Focus on categories where there is less emphasis.
Less emphasis, lesser crowds. CK, quickly, bed or bath?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a great opportunity for bed linen and bath linen because these two categories make a lot of difference in terms of getting into the festivity.
Gentlemen, I'm asking this question so you take a position. So you are smartly giving me a middle of the road answer. So bed or bath? I mean, more. I'm not obviously saying that the other one doesn't, but
when you consider bed or bath, definitely it is going to be the bed.
It's going to be the bed. Point taken.
In the sense, the product access, you have to be very clear about the product there. In the bed,
the reason I brought that point is in terms of one of the questions that's come in is in terms of the hygiene factor that comes in, especially from a bath linen perspective as well in a large family. So which is where the question came from. So point taken, bed or bath, more on bed, less on bath.
More on bed, yeah. More on bed.
Azimji?
So if you ask me personally, I would say bed first and bath second. Okay. But actual fact is going to be that bath is going to be definitely something that people will go in for more.
All you gentlemen are supposed to be in politics, looks like. And Karan bhai, what about you? What do you think?
I will go beyond both bed and bath and concentrate on the living room, like Mr. Mahajan said. I will go beyond bed and bath and look into the living room. That's where the creation can happen.
Yeah, that's where the valuation can happen. That's what Mahajan said also, that more value creation in new spaces than the earlier.
Absolutely. And you're creating an extra product point, which is very important.
Next question, gentlemen. What do you see the demand increase going up by in terms of percentage? CK, quick number to it. 10, 20, 30, whatever.
Compared to last year, this year it is going to be flat. I don't see any growth happening.
Oh. Okay, Mahajan Saab?
We look at it overall year. I mean, we've lost probably 2 months in the year. So we see either flat or a 10% decline.
So you're looking at demand decline or sales decline, sir?
I see a sales decline. Because absolute number, because I personally feel there is going to be discounting. So we may sell more units, but the value realized is going to be lower.
Got it. Azimji?
Okay, so again, looking at the what people have been talking about in terms of numbers, with the first quarter gone, so to say, your quarter 2 and quarter 3, which are the most important quarters for retail, if that goes as per plan in terms of the lockdown, opening up, I feel that there would be a 10 to 15% drop overall annual sales going forward.
And Karan bhai?
I would be happy with flat. To be flat is maybe 20% increase over last year because we have lost literally all of first quarter.
Okay. Next question quickly again. Do we see increase in margins happening? Yes, no. Mahajan Saab.
Sorry, question again, please.
Do we see increase in margins? You talked of building premiums into the pricing. Do we see at least an increase in margins happening for all of us as retailers?
Short term, no. Long term, I just feel that the margins will, the margins are already the margins. I don't see them really going up unless your revenues go up. Yeah. Meaning you have to build a top line to increase your bottom line. Your prices cannot, you cannot change prices that easily.
Oh, fair enough. But I was coming more from the perspective that you're now likely to build in more hygiene factors, and therefore you're going to be selling hygiene in that sense. So therefore, will you be able to?
At the end of the day, the consumer likes everything, but there is a little reluctance, and so you have to eat the cost also.
Point taken, sir. Azim ji.
I really don't see, at least in the next 1 year, I think it's going to be more constant. I don't think margins are going to increase, but as you rightly put it, if the prices go up, the margin value anyway goes up. The percentage may not go up, but the value will go up.
CK?
In the next 6 to 12 months time, I definitely see the margin going down, because I think the retailers and the manufacturers, they have to, they should be willing to forego certain margin to drive the business and also to deliver affordable pricing to the consumer.
So seek volumes, drop margins. That's
Absolutely.
Karan bhai?
I think we'll have to forget margins for a while. We would be happy where we are.
Okay. I mean, the reason why this question came was when I was talking to quite a few retailers. One point they were saying is that they're anyway expecting a marginal drop in sale, like what we are saying, 10 to 20%. The one way that we could probably offset that is by looking at higher margins. Check with the panel whether there are likely to be scope for higher margins. I think you've answered that. Next question is, online or offline, where will you place your bets? Karan bhai, let me start with you.
Online, definitely. Online for at least next 6 months.
Okay.
And then we'll take it forward.
Priority online and then offline.
Online followed by offline. Mahajan sir.
I don't see online replacing offline.
Where will you place your bets on is the question.
Sorry?
Where will you place your bets on is the question. As a retailer.
Equally, because we are present in both channels.
Azim ji?
Same, online and then offline. So
online followed by offline. Yeah. So I think that seems to be a largely majority answer. One thing I'm observing is that today in this panel, while there's tremendous diversity in terms of experience and bandwidth, one thing I'm seeing is that there's a commonality in terms of understanding, in terms of margins or top line growth or the channels of sale. My final question before we get into Q&A, do we see a sentiment more towards Indian manufactured products versus imported products? And let me start this off with the manufacturer himself, Mr. Mahajan.
I've always believed in made in India for the world.
Okay. CK?
I definitely see there is a sentiment, going to Indian products, because of the current political scenario, people may not be looking at made in China label.
So Indian manufacturing. Karan bhai.
Proudly crafted in India has been the mantra with us at EPCH.
Yes.
I'll take it further. The sentiments are against China. And it will be more so in the long run. I've been talking to a lot of people who said, well, we don't want to buy from China, but for the time being, we are forced to buy from China till we get the alternative supply chain. And once that comes into thing, and if India plays the cards right, we are in a very good place.
Right. Yeah. Azim ji?
Same anti-China sentiments is definitely going to play in the market, and therefore your Indian-made products will definitely be more popular.
So Indian it is. Wonderful. So gentlemen, I'm going to run a round of questions with you. We just now have about 17 minutes with us. The last 4 minutes will be to one single word takeaways that you want to advise the attendees. So I'll quickly run through a few of the questions. Friends, I hope I'm able to cover as many of them as I can. So therefore, I would request quick answers. So one question is, post-COVID time, what should a design and retail home brand come with from a consumer point of view? Mahajan Saab, you could take that.
What should be the design and?
What should a design and retail home brand come with? I mean, they're saying going beyond commodity. So let's say there's a brand that's design-led. What should they come up with from a consumer point of view?
From a consumer point of view, I think, again, it will depend on the audience that the brand or caters to, and understand how that particular consumer's buying behavior is. For us personally, we feel that a lot of our consumers are mind workers, and if they are mind workers, the opportunity for them to work from home is going to be strong. and what are the products that they would need to make that working environment comfortable. There would be, like, we do desk, it's beyond home. We also do desk accessories and other things.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how do we put those accessories on the table for them to be able to be better organized and to be able to be more comfortable working from home?
Got that. This question I'm going to raise it to CK, because you talked about festive. If COVID looks like it's going to take a long time for COVID, and no opening the stores, etc., is going to take much longer, then what can we expect from the festive season?
The festive season this year is going to come out of a negativity to a positive scenario. So definitely people, becoming more and more relaxed, but at the same time, the consumers are a little more skeptical and careful in terms of getting into the stores. Therefore, especially from the retail store operations point of view, the retail preparation post-COVID is going to be very, very important, because the customers are not keen on seeking help from the associate who otherwise maybe, in and around or maybe very close in terms of explaining the product and stuff like that. I think the retail operations team need to work on certain measures, safety measures, to actually take care of this situation. And how do we actually look at using technology and visual merchandising to answer the most commonly asked question, the frequently asked question, to enable the retail selling? I think that is going to be the key for the retailers.
That's a very, very good, strong takeaway, CK, in terms of you leveraging technology to answer as many of the FAQs as we can. My next question, which one of the attendees has asked, will go to Azimji. Do you think the retailers will have enough capital to source new product range, since they don't have any income at the current moment?
Yeah, that's going to be definitely a question. I personally feel a lot of retailers would be sitting on inventory, and they would want to get to liquidate that. I guess the way, of course, RBI is talking to banks to telling them to give money to the trade. I don't know how soon. As soon as it opens up and people start approaching, we have to see how that goes in terms of banking limits, or whether it is getting some credit. But I personally feel that by liquidating major part of the inventory, they would be able to raise quite a lot of funds.
Okay. Got it. I hope that answers the question to the attendee who raised that. This question, I'm going to bring it to Karan, because it looks very interesting. Of course, I think I would also look for an answer from one of the other panelists, because it's an interesting question. Over the coming years, there's likely to be income reduction across the world, thanks to or no thanks to job reduction and all of that, as well as sales volume drops. What will be the effort, and in terms of new product development, will there be more focus on new product development, or are we going to be probably, as I extend the question on my own, or is it going to be working with existing product and then trying to push more of that, because we'll not probably have the bandwidth to invest in new product development?
No, new product development and creating new products is the key forward. Without that kind of innovation, it's very difficult to survive. You will have to break away from the pack and create an identity. That's where the brand building comes in. I'm a great believer in brand and the vision behind the brand. So unless you don't do innovative things, like Mahajan ji said, you are a home textile company. Why not create home desk accessories? So you will have to look beyond your current manufacturing portfolio and expand your range. And I would rather look at the products which, play up to the human emotions, because emotion is one thing which you can always convert into sales. Unlike, when you have a thinking, when you think from your brain, there are a lot of things which come into the play. The prices come into the play, whether you require it or not. But once you can play with a beautifully created product, play with the person's emotion, you have a say. I'm a strong believer in that.
And are you saying this for both small and large manufacturers to invest in new products? I mean, the large manufacturers obviously understood what you're saying, Karan, but do you, recommend this even for the smaller ones? They should invest time and effort and resources in new product development?
See, especially in our sector, the handicraft sector, which apparently is not handicraft anymore, we are a lot of technology driven. You don't really require retooling and reinvestment to come out with a new range. You can do it with your existing infrastructure, so why not? It's all in the brain because you're not going to require any additional funds to do it. It's just the extra time and energy and the willingness to do it.
Got that. Gentlemen, I think we just have time for the roundup. So I would request each of us to come out with one recommendation. In fact, that's also one of the questions that comes saying, what is the one big takeaway that each panelist would recommend to all the attendees? One big word, as I said, a few of the words that came up last time and the earlier time where people talked of adaptability, people talked of technology adoption, people talked of empathy, someone recommended kindness. So if I were to start requesting each of you to share that one big word which you would recommend as a takeaway, of course with a line to go along with it. Can we start with Mr. Mahajan sir?
Collaboration. That has come through, even, you know, the other CK has said, everyone has said that, Karan has said that.
Yeah.
I think it is time for people to be collaborative.
I think you have actually stolen CK's word. So, CK, what is your word? Because Mahajan sir strongly recommends collaboration.
Personally, the way people are going to buy, there's going to be when I read this book, there's going to be a seismic shift in the way people are actually going to buy. And I think collaboration comes out of that. And that being said, you know, a parting advice, earlier everybody used to say, you know, stay away from negative people. Now hearing stay away from positive people. So you need to be clear which positives you want to stay away from and which ones you want to stay with.
Very true, sir. Very true. Stay away from corona positive people is what I think is saying. Right. CK, your one word that you would recommend?
No. My one word is already said by Mr. Mahajan. But you know, I'm repeating the collaboration and align ourselves with the industry leaders, both manufacturers and retailers. And the second key word for the retail fraternity is the retail preparation for the post-COVID scenario. These are only two words.
Preparedness.
Yeah. Preparedness. Retail preparation. Retail preparation for the customers and the post-COVID scenario and collaboration.
Wonderful. So collaboration followed by preparedness. Retailers need to be prepared. Wonderful. Azimji, yours one word of advice.
So my one word that I really like is reasonableness.
Reasonableness.
Yeah. So, you know, being reasonable with all stakeholders, you know, whether it's your landlord, whether it's your staff, whether it is your vendors and your customers. So I think that's the word that I like, that, you know, it cannot be one-sided. It has to be a win-win scenario, and therefore reasonableness is the key.
Wonderful, wonderful. Karan bhai, your, I would say, parting words.
I will just choose a different vocabulary. Creating alliances, you know, that's the key. There's no other way forward.
Alliances.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I think today we've got, and this is one area where I'm seeing alignment, at the same time, very interesting words, right from Mahajan Saab's collaboration to preparedness that CK advises to the retailers to reasonableness. I think that follows the softer side, which almost in all the other panels I've been observing, and alliances like what Karan bhai is recommending in terms of between retailers, manufacturers, and all the stakeholders within the community. I think we've covered quite some ground. Of course, there's much more to cover, but we've covered quite some ground in terms of understanding the demand side and the sentiment side of furnishings and decor as a category in the post-COVID times. I'm sure that we've also covered a bit in terms of what we should be able to communicate and how we should communicate, what kind of business volumes that we should be looking at, what kind of margins that we should be operating at, what are the channels that we should be focusing on more than something else, and what should we do in terms of investing in our people, in terms of technology, in terms of a new product development. I think quite some ground has been covered. And one thing that probably stands out at the end of it all from whatever all the panelists have been speaking, and then from my side as well as an industry insider for the last close to 25, 30 years, one thing I'm sort of getting very clear is that this entire thing about collaboration is what we all need to be focusing on as retailers, as manufacturers, and as multiple stakeholders. There are designers as well on one side, there are marketeers on the other side, there are technologists on the other side. So all of us need to probably come together and see what is win-win for each of us. And ultimately, we're all serving that one single source of revenue for all of us, and that is the end consumer, the end customer. I think let's all put our heads together and our hearts together in the times to come. Let's stay positive, as what Mr. Mahajan said. Let's stay aligned, as what aligned as what Karan said. Let's stay reasonable with all our stakeholders, as what Azimji said, and let's stay prepared to get on with the business as soon as the gates open. And on that note, I'm going to thank every single panelist for being here and spending their valuable time on this May Day. And I'm thanking every single attendee as well. And I've seen a wonderful steady state of about 170 all through this session. So 90 minutes of quality time that's been spent. Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, a video of this would be uploaded on YouTube as well as on the website. And a synopsis of the entire conversation will also be captured and shared as well. So thank you so much and have a great weekend ahead. And let's hope better times come soon and lockdown gets released. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Wonderful initiative.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you.
Stay safe all, stay healthy.